Namaste, Suswagatam, and welcome to our Sunday edition of Words of Wisdom Gyan Ganga on our Virat Hindustan Sangam social media channels. We are today at episode number 251, and we thank our viewers across the globe for their support we get week after week for this program with Dr. Subramanian Swamy. Today we have a very interesting episode, that is Gautam Adani's indictment in USA and its repercussions. And for the next 35 to 40 minutes, we will be discussing this topic with Dr. Swamy and our panel members. From today onwards, we are introducing a new feature, and as it is part of our VHS goal, we will be highlighting one important aspect of Indian history. So today is the martyrdom day of Guru Tej Bahadur, and this is the slide which is before you. He gave up his life to save the Hindus in India. And we have a short video, a very short video. We'll be highlighting this in each of our programs.
मुस्लिम बनना होगा बिना किसी जोर जबरदस्ती के। औरंगजेब के लिए भी ये इज्जत का सवाल था। हाँ या ना पर सब कुछ निर्भर था। खुद चल के आया था औरंगजेब, लाल किले से निकलकर सुनहरी मस्जिद के काजी के पास। उसी मस्जिद से कुरान की आयत पढ़कर यातना देने का फतवा निकलता था। वो मस्जिद आज भी है, गुरुद्वारा शीशगंज, चांदनी चौक, दिल्ली के पास। आखिरकार जब इस्लाम कबूलवाने की जिद पर इस्लाम ना कबूलने का हौसला अडिग रहा तो औरंगजेब के इशारे पर जल्लाद की तलवार चली और प्रकाश अपने स्रोत में लीन हो गया। ये भारत के इतिहास का एक ऐसा मोड़ था जिसने पूरे हिंदुस्तान का भविष्य बदलने से रोक दिया। सिर्फ एक हाँ होती तो ये देश हिंदुस्तान नहीं होता। गुरु तेग बहादुर जी, जिन्होंने हिंद की चादर बनकर तिलक और जनेऊ की रक्षा की, उनका अदम्य साहस भारतवर्ष कभी नहीं भूल सकता। कभी एकांत में बैठकर सोचिएगा, अगर गुरु तेग बहादुर जी अपना बलिदान न देते तो हर मंदिर की जगह एक मस्जिद होती और घंटियों की जगह अजान सुनाई दे रही होती। इस वीडियो को हर एक हिंदू और सिख तक जरूर पहुंचाइए, जिससे 24 नवंबर का ये इतिहास सभी को पता होना चाहिए।
This is the new thing which we are going to start. We are grateful to Historical Pathshala for having put out this social media strip, and we have acknowledged the Historical Pathshala for this strip. It is over to Dr. Swamy to initiate today's discussion on Adani's indictment in USA and its repercussions. Over to Dr. Swamy.
Thank you very much, Jagdish. Actually, this is a major development. In fact, I would say it's more major than Watergate in America, which brought down the then President Nixon. And I think I would not be surprised if over some next few weeks, the Prime Minister's name will also start appearing. And therefore, this is a matter for our country and something that we have to take very seriously. First of all, let me tell you, the people who are indicted, indicted means they have been found prima facie guilty. And therefore, they have to appear in court, and then the proceedings will go on. They are Gautam Adani, then Sagar Adani, who I think is his nephew. Some people say son, but Vineet Jain, then Ranjit Gupta, Rupesh Agarwal, Cyril Kanahas, I think he's from Australia, Saurabh Agarwal, and Deepak Malhotra. These are these almost 8 or 9 people who have been declared as people who are who have been found to be prima facie guilty. Now, there are 5 counts. One is that the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. It's a very strict one, that one. And they have been charged under that. Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Then there's a securities fraud. And that in terms of the securities fraud includes even things like payments, gifts, and so on. Then there's a wire fraud, where you through these various things like telephones, etc. You conduct this fraud. And finally, obstruction to justice. That is, there was an attempt to prevent justice from going to this matter, and that's how the United States brought in their top investigators and got it done. Now, the bribery happened between 2020 and 2024, the last 4 years. And thereby, $250 million for the projects to yield $2 billion in a 20-year period. That is, the bribe was $250 million given so that a $2 billion which was to be built over 20 years in the name in the award of Solar Energy Corporation of India. So Gautam Adani personally met Indian officials to advance the scheme and help the in-person meetings and exchange electronic messages on the phone. That is, Gautam Adani was using the Indian officials to help him, and they were, of course, all paid, and they, of course, will also be soon brought to book. Defendants also extensively documented their bribes. They were so sure that they are big shots in the new Indian government that they were documenting it, putting in the news in form of a document, in printed document, and so on. And the nephew of Adani used his telephone to track specific details of bribes offered. So the whole thing was on telephone, and the Americans have copies of that thing. Of course, there's a Vineet Jain who took pictures of the documents summarizing the bribe emoluments, and with the Indian company. So the issue is that what comes out of all this is that there was an utter disregard that anyone can catch them, anything can happen. But unfortunately, the United States comes into the picture, even though the transaction is not Indian, because there are things that they have negotiated in the United States. So the United States law came into force. I would recommend today's Indian Express, Sanjay Baru's article, which is the Indian Express, which is extremely good. The Hindu also has some very, very good articles which you should read. So what I suggest is that we have to today look at the picture of this gigantic thing. Can it be done without the Prime Minister's support? It's like Watergate. Watergate was what? It was a very simple thing. 4 people who belonged to, who were hired by some of the staff of Nixon, who was the president of the United States, to go and enter illegally the Democratic Party office in a building called Watergate. That's why it's called Watergate. And there's a big, huge building in Washington, and they had an office in that, and they broke into that to get all the documents. So that's why it's called Watergate. Now, ultimately, the documents that they got were later on taken over by the police. They found that increasingly there were multivarious things that were going on, and ultimately Nixon had to go because everything of those things had the support of Nixon. So today, I will say that I can trace many of the travel activities of Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, which shows that he had gone even to places where, even if it was for one day, like Greece, even to Greece. So to now in Africa, he has gone suddenly to Africa. Our own country, some of the states are burning. It didn't bother him. And he had the elections were not over. Still, he went off because there was to a G20 meeting, but in the process, he also went to some countries. There too, Adani, for Adani's issues were taken up by the Prime Minister. So I think let us brace for this fact, which will be very sad for us, especially since BJP came to power on fighting corruption. It will be a gigantic fraud that will happen. And we should brace ourselves, but we should be frank. We can't have a clean government unless the public openly comes out with it. This has got nothing to do with party and non-party, and certainly Congress party cannot do anything because they are mighty corrupt themselves. I think they are more corrupt than anybody else, and I found them out in many of the cases. There are still cases going on. 2G matter, this matter, that matter, National Herald case, so on and so forth. They're all in the process. They are all on bail. Rahul Gandhi is on bail. Sonia Gandhi is on bail. So we can't expect them to do anything about it. It has to be done by us, or those of us who want BJP to prosper. We want our party to prosper. And in that process, whoever is dirtying it by corruption, they must be exposed, no matter how high. So with this, we go to the technical expert, Ramesh, and ask him to explain how he sees it from where he is sitting, which is in the United States of America.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. Dr. Swamy, the key point is the FBI has filed in the Eastern District Court of New York 5 charges, as you explained, and the SEC has additionally filed 2 more. It's essentially a repetition of what FBI has filed, but they have filed on their own. So there are 2 cases, not just one that we earlier. Now there are 2 cases against all the people who have been indicted in the document, or the same set of people have been indicted twice in 2 different separate cases. That's one. The second thing. The other thing is, Dr. Swamy, as in America, everybody is innocent until proven guilty, but the evidences put forth or provided by the FBI in these documents are startling. And you mentioned that basically they've kept the extensive documentation of what bribe was paid to whom. That kind of extensive documentation was kept. So I think it is going to be a little bit difficult to wiggle out of this. And given that there is going to be a change in the White House on January 20th, it is not going to be that easy, because I don't think, this is my personal opinion, that there's going to be any intervention or go slow kind of an attitude from the new White House, from President Trump. The challenge being, but because these files have been, whatever charges have been pretty strong, and it's not as though they just came up with this yesterday. They have been investigating Adani from 2019, late 2019 and 2020. That's what it says, right? And they have traced who the bribe was paid to and all. The most important thing the viewers need to understand, that this is not a case against the people or what bribe was paid in India. That's not the purview of this case at all. This is a US entity that has falsified documents, has falsified information, has hidden information, destroyed evidence. So this is only against the promoters / owners / officers of the company of the US entity, which is a subsidiary of the Indian entity. The charges are not against any Indian corporations of Adani or any people in Adani. That's up to India to decide what they want to do. If they want to prosecute the corrupt or not, that's up to India. It's up to Modi to do whether he wants to prosecute or not. This is the case in the US. The FCPA, as you mentioned, Dr. Swamy, is very clear. If an American corporation pays bribes anywhere in the world, it's Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, then they are liable. It is a felony, so they will be prosecuted as well. And the FBI and the SEC has established that the US entity, through its Indian parent, whatever you want to call it, has paid bribes of about $250 million. I just want to present something, Dr. Swamy. So they have very clearly mentioned that Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani, and Vineet Jain conspired to misrepresent what was said in the Indian entity. So what does it mean? So the US entity has said to its investors that they have a $10 billion contract to that effect, and huge number from, and I have a letter of award from Solar Energy Corporation of India, SECI. So it's a Government of India, Navaratna Enterprise. So they claimed that it was we have an award, and based on which we want to raise $3.5 billion. And we believe that the profit after tax will be about some 2 billion spread over 10 years and stuff like that. So they have put all these numbers up and they've raised money. But what did they not disclose? What did they not disclose? That they got this contract through bribery. This is mentioned in the document. All these words are from the indictment, so they are not mine. Raise capital through false and misleading statements. So what does that mean? So SECI promised, or not even promised, they said or committed that, okay, we will try to sell this solar energy that you generate. I think it's 12 gigawatts or some number like that. And we will sell it to the state electricity boards in Tamil Nadu, Chhattisgarh, Andhra, Jammu and Kashmir, and stuff like that. So they mentioned 5 states. Irrespective of whether they are BJP ruled or not, but they said these are the 5 states or something we are going to sell the power to. What, unfortunately, when ACC had tried to reach out to these states, they said, why should I buy the power at this price when I can do it in a much cheaper way in a different place? So they did not buy. So SECI went back to Adani or Adani Green Energy and said that we are not able to sell the power, so we cannot make good of our commitment. This was not disclosed. Okay, so then based on which they have falsified financial statements. This Cyril Cabanis, Canadian, Saurabh Agarwal, Deepak Malhotra, and Rupesh Agarwal, these 4 people are Canadian. They basically fronted the deal or tried to sell the deal or bundle the deal to other FIIs and institutional investors and other investors. But they conspired to obstruct the grand jury. There's an obstruction of justice case. And they also deleted emails, messages, and bribery documents. All those things were destroyed. So all this is all, they have proof that they were destroyed. This is not, again, people need to understand, this is not an indictment on Modi or Modi government, because it does not, nowhere in the sense it says it is Modi, or they've not mentioned his name. They've just said some Indian government officials were used to pay the bribes. They don't care about what happens to the Indian government officials. That's up to India to take care of it. They are bothered about the corruption that has happened, that was done by the US entity. So please try to understand, it is not something on Modi. It is not what was shocking for me is that Patra comes out and says this is an attack on Indian stock exchange. I don't know how, stupid can you be to make such statements, because it has got nothing to do with the Indian stock exchange. You commit a crime in America, whether you're an Indian, Chinese, American, whatever, Timbuktu, you're from Mars, you will be prosecuted in this country. So please try to understand, it was a fraud. Do not defend something that is a fraud. It has not been proven in court. But when a charge has been filed, until this has got its day in court, it is not an attack on India. It is not an attack on your stock exchange. It is not an attack on your economy. In fact, the spokesperson should have come back and said almost 22% of the market capitalization of the Adani enterprise was wiped out in one day. And imagine that, Dr. Swamy, how many investors were impacted, not only in America, but also in India. Instead of questioning that as to why did you commit, we will institute an inquiry locally. Don't attack the US or the FBI and saying it is deep state, too deep a state, under a state. No, that's all nonsense, because those are all conspiracy theories. We are dealing with facts, and the facts are basically very clearly mentioned in the FBI document. So I just want to close this. So that brings us to this topic, Dr. Swamy. The key is going to be, the question to you. There is a process that's already going on in the US. There's nothing to, run away from it, because it is what it is. The facts are very clear. They're going to be pushed through. They might do a plea deal and all, but it's going to be a substantial hit. One of the asks of SEC is that not only should this group pay fine, this is going to be a huge amount, because they have to repay the loan that they took, which is 3 billion plus or whatever, and plus penalty and punitive damages, whatever. In addition, they want the group to be barred from borrowing money anywhere in the Western world. That's going to be a huge hit for them. Basically, they're getting locked out. If they say not in the US, no other country will touch or give them loans. right? You can't raise money anywhere else in the world. That's pretty much where it is, because you raise money either in the US or UK. Pretty much where else in the world will you raise money? These are the two places, financial centers of the world. And once the US, if the ruling comes against Adani, basically the group will be barred from raising money anywhere in the world. That's pretty much what it is. It's going to be interesting, but of course there are ways and means to do, but they might find a way given what they are. But it is going to have a severe impact. The repercussions is going to be that not only the Adani group, that's going to be making it difficult for them to borrow money, but they have tainted the system. So even a genuine Indian company that's want to raise money in India is going to be under a lot of scrutiny. So they're going to spend a lot more time and energy to raise money abroad. This could be a possible impact, because one of the repercussions that I thought about when I was discussing was there could be an impact. Whether there's going to be an impact of FDI, there is one question here, but I am not so. I don't know about the FDI. That only Dr. Swamy can say whether there's going to be an impact. Whether there's going to be an impact if the ruling goes against the Adani group. But my question to you, Dr. Swamy, is the Indian part. So, what are the repercussions of this indictment? Leave alone whether it's going to be a conviction or not, but the mere fact that the FBI has conducted so much, has evidence, so much of evidence. Can India ask FBI? I think there is a way to coordinate with them and get the evidence and prosecute or initiate an investigation in India. B, will that? What is the? I mean, is that going to happen in the near term, long term? So, first question, Dr. Swamy, will this happen in India? Will India or the Modi government initiate an investigation or prosecution?
But before the others intervene, let me just make a short comment on some of the issues you raised. I am anyway got my team working on how we can approach the Indian courts as to what has happened. And as you know, I've been in the United States for many years, so I have lots of friends who are in very good positions. I have asked them whether they could help me get the documents which may or may not be of usefulness for Indian courts, but it's something that I'm working on to get it. The question basically is, we are fighting corruption. It doesn't matter how high the person is. As I gave you the example of Nixon, I mean, the American society didn't buy. I mean, they elected him as president of the United States with a huge majority in 1972. But then they brought him down. And it was arising out of very silly things, and many other things began to fall. I say, as far as Adani is concerned, from day one, he was everywhere where the Prime Minister was there. The flight by which he came from Ahmedabad to Delhi to take the oath as Prime Minister, that plane was provided by Adani. And Adani has grown from nothing to enormous. He has used the government power to see that Bombay airport is handed over to him when the owner didn't want to hand it over. So we are now dealing with a situation where there is no doubt that Adani and Mr. Modi have very close association, and whether that has spilled into Adani getting these facilities in going both abroad and within India. Remember one thing, that Adani has committed a crime in Australia on the issue of coal, and he has a problem in Sri Lanka. He has a problem in practically all our neighbors. He has and even in Africa. So we are not dealing with a man who is being he's been a great success, and therefore out of jealousy the Americans are doing this. Americans also following the law, and Adani can afford the best lawyers for what money can buy, and he can fight the case. But I am saying that on the face of it, it is so disgusting They're a country which is supposed to have come to power on fighting corruption, which is what we did. And 2G spectrum was the one that initiated the prospect of BJP coming to power. Then after that, National Herald case. So these are where we have fought. So how do we face the public and say, no, the Congress is corrupt, or X is corrupt, or Y is corrupt? Because we are now ourselves being accused of it internationally. And therefore, I think the whole country must take this very seriously and demand a clear-cut answer. They should ask for a commission inquiry. And if the government doesn't give a commission inquiry, then of course I have the freedom to go for a PIL to the Supreme Court.
Dr.
Thank you.
Swamy, Ramesh, are you finished or shall I?
No, go ahead. I was just about to
Dr.
hand over to you.
Swamy, there are some questions raised by our viewers and to Ramesh ji. Mr. Ramesh, will this affect FDI to India?
Yeah,
Ramesh, one of our viewers.
see, FDI, Jagdish ji, there might be a little bit of a slowdown, but again, I don't know. Because anyway, the FDI to India has got nothing to do with real manufacturing, plants or manufacturing or anything. Like, it's been more into participatory notes. As Dr. Swamy has said a million times, the money is just to flow into the market and get out. The actual investment into India is still not there yet. I mean, I'm assuming so-called FDI might go up or down because right now they might be pulling out, but they come back in, and most of the FDI is coming in only into the stock exchange. I don't think the FDI into building a large manufacturing facilities and things like that. I think we discussed that, but I do not think so. Dr. Swamy is a better bet at this.
No, on the contrary, if we decide to get serious about this, there'll be more FDI coming. There'll be a greater confidence that India will ensure that fly-by-night money is not going to be given any preference. In fact, they'll be prosecuted. And people who are genuinely want to invest in India, they will come much more willingly if they knew that India is ready to fight corruption.
There's another question from our viewers from Mumbai. How much time will the American court take to conclude this case? Is there any provision to go for appeal by the losing party? Now, this perhaps is done in the Indian context. The cases go on and on and on forever. So will Dr. Swamy or Ramesh give us some idea what happens after this indictment is issued and then there is an arrest warrant and what all of the procedures, any time span generally?
Jagdish, I think my guess is it'll take at least 90 days for them to set all these things and set a date for trial. There might be negotiations before that, but once the trial begins, it's anybody's guess. Unfortunately, it's pretty much the timeline-wise is pretty much the same as India, but it won't be as extended as India because even in Rajaratnam case, it took a while, but they got whatever conviction they wanted. He was in fact convicted of crime, very similar crimes. He was in insider trading, same wire fraud, obstruction of justice kind of charges. But it'll take at least 90 days for this to start, any trial to start, roughly on and give or take. That's been the average here. But we'll have to see. I mean, at the end of the day, if the FBI is very serious and they want to push hard, they can do, because anyway the holidays are coming, so we have to take that into account. But most likely March of next year, that's what I think. That's approximately where I'm looking.
Dr. Swamy, some of the viewers want to know whether the change of a president, which is going to happen in the month of January because the election results are out, will a change of the president have an effect on this type of cases in America?
Not at all, because this is already in court. And there's very little any new president can do. And I must tell you one thing. From whatever I have come to learn, as I cannot say that I am 100% sure. I have come to learn this, that Donald Trump is not going to be the Donald Trump of the previous tenure. His relations with Modi have soured for a variety of reasons in the last 4 months. And particularly when Modi refused to meet him after Donald Trump had publicly announced that he learns that Modi is coming to New York to go to the UN, and he is going to meet him. And Modi then made a statement that he will not be meeting him. And so that apparently to people who are close to the president-to-be, they say that had upset him a lot. And his recent thing, he has hardly made any references to Modi. And I don't think that when this kind of case comes, he as a president will intervene in favor of Modi.
Before I get to the other question, अरविंद चतुर्वेदी, आप कुछ सवाल इस संदर्भ में पूछ सकते हैं डॉक्टर स्वामी को.
थैंक यू. मैं सबसे पहले सवाल पूछना चाहता था, वो आपने पूछ ही लिया. मोदी और ट्रंप की जो दोस्ती है, उस दोस्ती का क्या असर होगा, क्या कोई संभावना है, ये डॉक्टर स्वामी ने बहुत स्पष्ट रूप से जवाब दे दिया है. मेरा दूसरा सवाल करूं उससे पहले मैं जो क्वेश्चन आपने पूछा था एफडीआई के बारे में बता दूं. एफडीआई अगर किसी भी देश में जाता है तो जो बिजनेसमैन अपना निवेश किसी दूसरे देश में करता है, वो जो रिटर्न आता है उसके ऊपर करता है. पिछले 15 या 20 सालों में चाइना और भारत दो ऐसे देश हैं जहां पे बहुत ज्यादा एफडीआई लोगों ने दिया है. एक तो जो रिपेट्रिएशन होता है, जो उसी देश के लोग बाहर रहते हैं, डायस्पोरा, वो लोग करते हैं. दूसरा बिजनेसमैन अपने रिटर्न के लिए करता है. तो यदि भारत में उनको किसी भी प्रकार का रिटर्न मिलता रहेगा तो अडानी और नो अडानी एफडीआई पे उतना ज्यादा असर नहीं पड़ेगा. ये मेरा अपना मानना है. दूसरा सवाल जो डॉक्टर स्वामी से मैं पूछना चाहता था, जिस प्रकार से पहले हिंडनबर्ग ने अडानी के बिजनेस में सवाल उठाए और भारत सरकार की दोस्ती की वजह से उनको बहुत ज्यादा गंभीरता से देश में नहीं लिया गया और उसका ज्यादा प्रभाव नहीं हुआ, और अब फिर जो अमेरिका ने कोर्ट ने सवाल उठाए हैं, इनका असर भारतीय बिजनेस के विदेश व्यापार पर कितना पड़ेगा. उदाहरण के लिए अडानी के जो पंख हैं, आपने उनको एक बार ट्रैपीज आर्टिस्ट बताया था. ये ट्रैपीज आर्टिस्ट जो 15 साल में उत्पन्न हुए हैं, अडानी के पंख बहुत जल्दी फैल गए. इतनी जल्दी विकास किसी भी बिजनेस हाउस का इंडिया में नहीं हो पाया. अंबानी ने भी 40 साल लिए, लेकिन अडानी ने 15 साल में पूरा प्रभाव अपना दिखा दिया पूरे विश्व में. चाहे वो अफ्रीका की बात आप कर रहे थे, केन्या हो, बांग्लादेश हो, श्रीलंका हो, ऑस्ट्रेलिया हो, अमेरिका हो, सब जगह. और जाहिर है कि इतना आसानी से विकास कोई व्यापार घराना करता है तो अपने सहज तरीके से नहीं करता, कुछ ना कुछ उसमें अंडरहैंड डीलिंग होती है. अब केन्या में अडानी ने 2 कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लिए थे. एक पावर ट्रांसमिशन का लिया था, एक नैरोबी एयरपोर्ट का बनाने का लिया था. इन द लाइट ऑफ द यूएस कोर्ट इंडाइटमेंट, केन्या हैज कैंसिल्ड, टर्मिनेटेड द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. 2022 में, 2 साल पहले, जब श्रीलंका में दूसरी सरकार थी, तो श्रीलंका में सवाल उठाए गए थे अडवाणी के निवेश के ऊपर, और उस समय बात आई गई होगी, किस तरह वो दबा दिया गया मामला समझ में नहीं आया. अब in the light of the US court indictment, do you think Sri Lanka will also revive the investigation? बांग्लादेश में जो सरकार है वो भारत की बहुत ज्यादा फ्रेंडली सरकार नहीं है. अगर मैं कहूं भारत की फ्रेंडली सरकार नहीं है, इसका मतलब अडानी के दोस्त हैं भारत सरकार में, उनके लिए भी फेवरेबल सरकार नहीं है. अभी हाल में बांग्लादेश में पावर क्राइसिस हुआ. वो पावर क्राइसिस इस वजह से हुआ कि अडानी ने जो झारखंड में इनका प्लांट है, झारखंड में प्लांट से जो सप्लाई होती थी उन्होंने रोक ली और उनका पेमेंट बांग्लादेश को कुछ ना कुछ करना पड़ा, तब ये समझौता हुआ. तो आपको लगता है कि बांग्लादेश सरकार भी अडानी के ऊपर कुछ ना कुछ एक्शन लेगी या उसके बिजनेस को प्रभावित करेगी? तो अगर ये सरकारें सारे मिलके कुछ ना कुछ अडानी के खिलाफ काम करेंगी, तो आपको क्या लगता है कि भारत की जो व्यापारिक विश्वसनीयता है, द ग्लोबल बिजनेस क्रेडिबिलिटी ऑफ इंडिया Do you think it will also be affected?
Ramesh, you want to do this first?
No, sir, you go ahead. You go ahead.
देखिए, सवाल ये है कि पहले जो है प्रतिष्ठा पर न एक दाग लग गई है बहुत बड़ी, और यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स का एक अलग सा एक स्थान है, और हमारे देश में बहुत हमारे देश के लोग जो हैं वो वहाँ जाते हैं पढ़ने के लिए, नौकरी करने के लिए, कोई बिजनेस करने के लिए। तो उन्होंने इस प्रकार से किया है ये जानते हुए कि ये प्रधानमंत्री का घनिष्ठ मित्र है।
बिल्कुल।
तो इसके माने ये है कि अमेरिका की सरकार भी मोदी के लिए कुछ राहत नहीं देने वाली है। जो डोनाल्ड ट्रंप के बारे जो कहा जाता था वो तो मैंने खुद वेरीफाई किया था। आप जानते हैं अक्टूबर में मैं अमेरिका गया था
जी।
तो मुझे उस समय पता लगा, और आपने देखा होगा कि अभी एक ये भी आया है कि ट्रंप ने जब फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम के लिए एक मीटिंग की थी अपने मिनिस्टर्स के बीच में, तो मेरा जो पेपर था अमेरिकन इकोनॉमिक रिव्यू में उसका उन्होंने उसको सबको पढ़ने के लिए कहा। तो मैं ये कहता हूँ कि जहाँ तक ट्रंप है वो अब ऐसा कभी किसी जिसमें नहीं फंसने वाला है जहां दूसरों का बोझ उठाना है, वो कभी नहीं करते। और क्योंकि जो बाइडेन के काल में प्रधानमंत्री ने, हमारे प्रधानमंत्री ने डोनाल्ड ट्रंप की उपेक्षा की, वो सब जानते हैं अमेरिका में, या नहीं जानते होंगे, परंतु वहाँ अमेरिका में सब जानते हैं। और इन्होंने भी जो उन्होंने जरूर मोदी ने फोन किया उनको और बधाई दी, और उसके बाद उसके नाम निशाना नहीं है कहीं। और जब अभी उन्होंने नाम दिया इन्होंने डोनाल्ड ट्रंप ने, उसमें इंडिया का नाम ही नहीं है। तो मैं ये कहता हूँ कि हमारे लोग इस प्रकार की आशा में नहीं रहनी चाहिए कि वो दोनों के बीच में दोस्ती है इसीलिए वो घोटाला जो है उसको उससे वो बच जाएंगे। ये कोई कोई चांदनी चौक नहीं है जो हम इस प्रकार की सौदा कर सकते हैं। मैं कहता हूं कि अमेरिका में ये जो किया है इसके माने इनकी इरादा है कि इसको आखिर तक ले जाने के लिए। तो मैं कहूँगा कि प्रधानमंत्री को भी सोचना पड़ेगा कि भाई खुलासा करनी पड़ेगी कि हाँ मुझे मेरे दोस्त है वो अडानी, परंतु मैं जहां तक कानून के सवाल है उसमें कहीं हस्तक्षेप नहीं करने वाला हूँ।
Dr. Swamy, I agree with you. In my view, very simple. Trump is a businessman. So what's in it for him to intervene?
That's right.
Very simple. Is he going to get any advantage of this? No. Why would he even deal with one case in US? There are thousands of such cases. So when he intervenes in one, then he has to intervene now. So I think it's going to be too far-fetched for the Trump administration to intervene. There might be some challenges because as Jagdish asked about some question, viewer asked about the timing. You know, in the US we have this discovery and all those things. So those things could drag. When the case will come is one issue, but this is a severe impact. At the end of the day, the indictment has been filed. The impact per se is, I don't think Adani is ever going to get money, at least for the next foreseeable future, till an outcome. He might be able to raise money here or there, but there is definitely going to be a higher hill to climb for him to raise any money. Well, he can raise money within India. He can raise as much money as within India. But in the Western world, it is going to be very difficult. And I do not think Trump will intervene in this because it's in his larger scheme of things, what problems we have in America, this is too small. And why would he do it? For whom? So if Modi is going to ask Trump to support the case, that itself is corruption, right? I don't think Modi himself will do this. I think Modi is just going to leave this aside. I mean, this is my view. I think any sensible leader would do, saying stay away. This is not a matter for the Indian courts. It isn't a US court. Why would Modi go and risk himself? Why would he risk to do this? And so given all this complication, I do not see there is going to be something happening. Typically, most of the times, deals the case could be closed even before, because if they do a deal, let's say Adani says, okay, I'm ready to pay back all the money, I'm ready to pay you $1 billion or $2 billion as fine and whatnot, all those, the case could be closed. But the caveat on that could be on the FBI side, but on the SEC side, the Security Exchange Commission has said, even if you do a deal, we want the companies to be barred from borrowing money. So that, how do we remove, is a big question, because that charge has been filed now, right? You do a plea deal, you pay the fine and you walk away. That's not the issue. SEC says, I want to make sure that this guy doesn't borrow money again. So that is a danger sign. How they want to wiggle out of that is going to be a challenging task. So, and given all of these things, I do not foresee Trump. See, Trump might change what the FBI is doing, the Department of Justice, everything will change, but the cases filed will not change. He might change the leaders, he might change the judges, he might change the guy, DOJ, whoever is working, and all those things. But a case is filed, correct? It's the same thing as anywhere in any country. If a case is filed by the government, if the new government comes in, they can either drop on their own, they can go and drop the case. That is a different issue altogether. But in particular case, bribery, and there's a felony count, it's going to be very difficult to drop, unless they say, oh, we don't have any evidence. Otherwise, why would they even filed the case? So that somewhat is an important aspect.
Ramesh, on your comment that Adani might succeed in raising money from India, let me tell you, his companies, all companies, though the company guilty is only one, but all companies' shares have gone down drastically. Stock market has been affected, and people and investors in India are not fools. They know if the company is going down, why would they invest? And already,
I'm not saying from the public, Arvind ji.
All the show which was planned has already been withdrawn.
I know, but
So
what
he knows he can't raise money now.
No, but I understand. Given that there is always the SBI that's ready to write off NPAs, I'm just saying, not from the public. He can go to the banks, So there are ways and means. I mean, I'm just saying, this is again, I'm joking, but at the end of the day, he need not go to the public, because even if you look at the Adani companies, the public holding is very small. I mean, relatively smaller compared to the other companies. But there are ways to do about it, because he could possibly raise, because hey, at the end of the day, Adani is a big fish, right, in India. So
may I just add, you see, this American thing will spread to other countries. Already Kenya has
exactly, Dr. Swamy, absolutely.
And very soon, I'm sure that the Russians will be another people, because Russians are already in a big squeeze. They will also cancel all what they owe to Adani. So China already has a big problem. Australia has a huge problem because on that coal mine thing. So I mean, Sri Lanka has got now a pro-Marxist government. I'm sure they're not going to be at all bound by what the previous governments did. So I think, broadly speaking, it's going to be very, very tough. It'd be much better if Adani openly explains what he's done and make amends for it.
Dr. Swamy, this is an interesting comment. I just want to show. I don't think anybody who knows Modi that he won't be afraid to drop you in a drop of the hat. I have one person who's sitting right with us who's an example of that. But anyway,
certainly.
So I do not, because at the end of the day, they always save their own skin. Whether Jagdish, I think you mentioned that SEBI or somebody in India is already.
It was one of the comments. It was one of the comments here that they have already started an inquiry. I'm not very sure.
The news. I just
there is a case somebody filed in Supreme Court that India government should also investigate. In fact, it was in the news today only. Some lawyer has filed a case. And whether this case will be heard or not, or whether
ML Sharma case, most likely the ML Sharma type case.
Ramesh, there's one question from our viewer. because you are based in US, they want to know whether this case is the bribe paid or planned to be paid. They want to know anyway. There's a question on the screen.
Actually, Jagdish, I mean, again, I'm going to split this thing into two pieces. My answer, okay? The US is not bothered about whether the bribe was, paid in India or not. That's not the issue here. They say that $250 million of bribe was paid, but they don't care about who it was paid to, who took the bribe.
No. That is not the question. That is not the question.
Yes,
the
bribe
question
was paid is what the indictment says. $250 million of bribe was paid. That was categorically stated.
Yeah,
So
it was paid.
that was the question.
There's another question. Will SEC initiate actions through? No, they cannot. SEC, I mean, they can do a cooperative thing, but SEC has no power over SEBI or vice versa. And given SEBI, I think I'd rather, it's not going to happen. I think I'll be more lucky with winning a lottery than SEBI taking any action on Adani.
I agree.
That's not going to happen. They might create one case, and then for maybe a next fourth generation from us might even see something, one paper coming out of it. But that's not going to happen. This is why, because it has been, even Arvindji, in the past 10 years, have you seen one major criminal prosecution in India happen for financial crimes?
Even Robert Vadra was not prosecuted.
Robert Vadra, what 2G case? I mean, we have seen time and again, India in the past 10 years has not even prosecuted one financial crime happen in India. I mean, it is ridiculous to assume that nothing is happening in India with huge NPAs, where the government itself is embarrassed to say, no, we will not disclose those NPAs. It is so big that we can't disclose. Isn't that a fraud? I mean, it is just mind-boggling. So,
Ramesh, if you look at the case, government of Modi in 2014 came into power on the issue of corruption only. Dr. Swamy has raised 2G. What has happened in 2G case? Ashok Chauhan, who was guilty in the real estate issue, has joined BJP. He's become Rajya Sabha member. His daughter has become MLA. I mean, what? And Ajit Pawar, who was accused of 72,000 crores corruption, is the deputy chief minister. What are you talking about? Do you think BJP takes corruption seriously?
Yeah, list is endless, Jagdish, on that. So, I mean, Arvindji, the list is endless. That's why I'm just saying, confidence of, unless we have people like Dr. Swamy who file the case and try to, I mean, in their best interest, try to file, and then even then they play monkey tricks in the courts. And as time and again, Dr. Swamy goes to the court and suddenly says registrar has not put it. The government plays all these monkey tricks. So they just don't want. Let's take the simplest case of Rahul Gandhi's citizenship. It is a cut and dry case. Just say yes or no. That is all. Just say yes or no. Fine. 2015, almost what, Jagdish, 9 years now? When was this filed, Jagdish? 19, no? 2019.
No, 2013.
13. So, just a simple cut and dry case of just to telling you why. So I'm just saying, it is just the effort that we put in, Dr. Swamy puts in, it is just phenomenal. I don't have the patience, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, let us see. Let us see, because I do not see this, at least I think I would be very naive to think that SEBI or the government will prosecute Adani or even initiate anything against this. I doubt it. I essentially doubt it.
Well,
Dr. Swamy, we have seen numerous international implication frauds or scams. Do you think the government of India will initiate, or whether Parliament will have a JPC on this? Because the case is in America, and the American courts will definitely come to its conclusion, whatever it comes. Because this is a corruption involving the government of India, some state governments and all that, will government of India or some other agency initiate some inquiry? What is your gut feeling?
I doubt whether they will initiate any inquiry, because I know very well, I'm with great deal of clarity, the extent of Modi's involvement with Adani, and he will not be able to separate from him. It will be a death knell for Adani, and Adani cannot allow that to go, and ultimately it will have consequences for the Prime Minister too. I think it's much better if the Prime Minister actually went in a big way to put Adani behind the bars on the same case, but from its Indian angle. That he has to do. Whether that he is mentally prepared for that or not, I don't know. But in any other way, if Mr. Modi is summoned, I mean, I would not rule it out that the United States, they may not be able to secure Modi to come, but they can certainly issue, like they did for the murder of Hiran Pandya in the United States. They will issue a warrant for him, and then they won't be able to have it applied. But those days it's forgotten because it was in Gujarat. But now it will be directly central, and there will be all our neighbors who are hostile to us make a big drama of it. I think the Prime Minister should sit down and talk to his colleagues and make an intelligent and broad-based decision on what to do to deal with this matter.
Dr. Swamy, there's one issue. I mean, there are two pieces. I mean, Arvindji, the bribe base was 1,700 crores. I think that is coffee change in India. I think that's a pittance amount in Indian bribery systems. But at the end of the day, the investors have lost. Imagine if you're almost a quarter of your market capitalization got wiped out.
Yes.
Look at and across the companies, Adani Enterprises, Adani Green, Adani Energy, whatnot, and all those things across the
solar energy and others.
Yeah, so it 2.6 lakh crores. That's not a small amount.
Yes.
2.6 lakh crores worth of market capitalization has been wiped out. It's not going to be easy. I mean, now there is a report within 2 days, it has gone back up by 6%. 6% is nothing. You've lost 22, 23 across three. Each company lost so much. And the 6% gain is a small bounce, but at the end of the day, the liability, Dr. Swamy, there is one, the punitive damages is, in America, is unlimited liability. The government can go broke. I mean, they can go for the broke. And just as I say here, there is a fine. There is a fine amount. A, he has to return the money that he borrowed, plus interest and whatnot, charges, etc., etc., etc. 2, they will put a punitive damage. That number, it can be any number. It could be 0 to billions. Because at that point in time, when the jury comes into play, if they see all the evidence and if they are convinced by that, that number is unlimited. So it's a huge risk for the Adani group of companies, because the punitive damages in America are completely decided by a jury, and it can be huge numbers. Dr. Swamy, you wanted to say something?
I want to say this, that you see, look at it in another dimension. For the last 6 to 8 months, we have really literally bent on our knees, in a sense, to improve our relations with the United States. And the United States is no, gem of the world.
Yeah.
They can put any case in the wastpaper basket without hesitation.
Correct.
But they have actually initiated action. What does it speak of, Mr. Modi? Were you made a fool of by Biden? And in these 48 hours, there's been no reaction from our next president to be. You see, Donald Trump. He hasn't said a word. And I would say personally that this means, in a sense, that the Western world, which is all dependent on the United States, is going to literally say that it is not possible to do business with India as long as Modi is Prime Minister.
And I think one important
Dr.
point,
Swamy,
yeah, that Jagdish ji or Arvind, you mentioned
Swamy,
that it is
some
go ahead.
viewers who, sorry, Dr. Swamy, some viewers who have, Dr. Swamy, can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, viewers.
Some viewers who have joined in late and may not heard your opening remarks at the end of your opening statement want to know whether you will be filing any PIL on this case in India. So they want to know because they perhaps have missed out. We have all heard, but they want to know whether you'll be filing a PIL in the Indian courts.
Yeah, I would. This is such a sensitive matter. You know, one of the problems I've had over these years that I file a PIL and then somebody will just copy my petition and then he'll file it himself also. Sometimes he'll find out that I am going to file and then he'll go in ahead of time to the registry and get it registered as if he's filing it and I'm just following him. So the question is, I will see what the Americans are doing, what documents come in, and of course I have enough friends. I have one sitting right here with us, and you know they are intelligent enough to get an access to these documents. And once we have the documents, we'll all sit together and decide how to do it, and do it in such a way that nobody else can come and take our place and try and wreck it. You saw what I did on Rahul Gandhi's matter. Somebody went to Allahabad
High Court.
I did. Yeah, no. He lives in Karnataka.
Karnataka. He lives in Karnataka and goes to Allahabad High Court.
Then files it there. And then he falsely says that the CBI has already started investigation.
Right.
But I have to give credit to the Delhi High Court Chief Justice. He said, is that so? Then I am going to hear you tomorrow, and you please produce the documents to show that the CBI has begun the investigation. Privately, the CBI said nobody has approached us, nor can we now we have any locus standi in this kind of a matter, and there's no question of our filing it. So let's see how that goes on the 6th of December. And then, of course, I think we are in final stages of setting aside Rahul Gandhi's Indian citizenship.
Yeah, they did the same thing even to this preamble case, Dr. Swamy.
Yeah, that's right. Preamble case, there was somebody just walked in. You see, everywhere this is all parasitical. A lot of parasitical work. So I got to be very careful before saying that I will file it. I will surprise you also, Jagdish, and when you see that I filed.
Okay, I think it is past 1 hour.
And, Jagdish, one small comment. I think Arvind, you mentioned, and Dr. Swamy also said this. This is not the end, because once the US has filed this case, because the FIIs also are based out of London. So it is going to be a matter of time before the UK government files a case, or as Dr. Swamy said, it could be in Australian government. So we are just seeing one of the many dominoes to fall. That's what I feel, because where he borrowed money across the globe. So we have to see how, because each of these countries might be, like Dr. Swamy, as he said, each of these countries might ask through their internal channels, through the FPI, and say, give me share the evidence. We can share what we have about the same thing. And then, it could be a cascading effect. Hope it does. You never know, but it's just going to, the possibility of that is quite apparent, Arvind, that the impact is going to be felt across the globe.
Yeah.
Yes, Arvind, you can conclude.
Yeah, Arvind, sorry.
I think today, the 24th of November, there were many issues, including the Maharashtra and Jharkhand election. But the Adani issue was so important that we have taken it over. And today we discussed it's not threadbare. There may be many other developments to come. And we will be watching these developments with all seriousness. And as Dr. Swamy said, his legal actions will depend on what are the other proceedings in the court. Thank you, Dr. Swamy, for initiating this discussion. We have discussed Adani several times, but this is the most important, which is going to have implication on the Indian business. Thank you, Ramesh, for adding to what Dr. Swamy said. highlighting the nitty-gritty of what the American courts do and how this case is going to be taken up. Thanks, Jagdish Shetty, for initiating the program and the initiative that has been taken today by introducing one part of Indian history. I think this we will continue and we will educate, as VHS logo says, educate and empower. So education of Indian history is one of the missions of Virat Hindustan Sangam, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you very much. Thanks the technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Tejas Navalgul, Swaminathan, though both of them were not there today, Gadgi Rakesh, Ishwar Iyer, Ajesh Nair and Gurdas Shetty for doing the background work and preparing the material for this case. Thank you all. We'll be meeting again next Sunday, 1st of December, with a new issue and Dr. Subramanian Swamy's views and, if possible, maybe another guest. Thank you all. We'll be meeting next Sunday. Till then, namaskar.